Welcome to Ask the FM Doctor, an interactive web series brought to you by the Simplar Foundation and IFMA to help you navigate the complex and ever-changing world of facility management. Whether you're a seasoned professional or a newcomer to the field, you'll find valuable insights and tips to deliver a better experience for your stakeholders while saving money. Join us on the third Tuesday of every month at 1 p.m. Eastern U.S. time to learn from our FM docs while connecting with other facility managers from around the world. Register today at simplerfoundation.org/FM-doctor so you don't miss an upcoming session.
Oh, Steve.
Great. Hello, everyone. This message I'll be sharing today is research that was sponsored by the International Facilities Management Association. There was a white paper, a report that was produced as well on this. So we'll be talking, kind of introducing the topic, talk about the reports and methodology that generated the research findings, and then diving into age and FM experience for veterans, demographics, pay, and then kind of a conclusion and call to action. This research was produced by the Simplar Foundation, which is a group of researchers and educators that work together to really provide research and support and tools that support the FM industry specifically. IFMA and the Simplar Foundation have a long history of producing a lot of these practical reports that many of you use, benchmarking reports, compensation reports. So there's been a partnership there over the years, and so one of the most recent ones is this topic of veterans. So the question, why would we focus on veterans in facilities management? Couple of reasons. Number one, that the FM industry is really, as we all know, navigating a period of significant transition because of an aging workforce. There's shifting demographics. There's a need to infuse the industry with a new talent, growing innovation, continuity. Veterans have a unique skill set and discipline and work ethic that have historically been really valuable to FM and the talent pool. And so this study really focused on, what there had been no research really previously to say, well, what's the state of veterans in FM? It was really exploratory, just understanding, how are they comparing in their pay and their age and their education. So this is a lot of just kind of information just to shed light on some of the opportunities and maybe challenges that veterans are facing that are in the industry, or to bring them into FM in general. So it's based on a large survey that went out to about 12,000 IFMA members with about 29% response rate. And just for clarification, when veterans are defined, it's any individual that completed a service for any branch of the armed forces, also including those in active duty. So respondents by region, you'll notice here in the United States, you've got a pretty good mix. A lot of the responses were coming from the South, but a representative area from each region. Veterans make up about 15% of the FM workforce, and they're only making up about 6% of the overall U.S. workforce. So what we find is there actually a higher portion of veterans in FM compared to other industries, which is interesting. The average age of a veteran in facility management is 52, with non-veterans being 47. So they're slightly older. There are far more veterans near retirement age than non-veterans. And so this age disparity is consistent actually across all job levels. So entry, mid-level, and senior level, which is partly probably explained because many of them, are coming into the industry a little bit later because they've served in the military. And so that's not surprising. Veterans have actually made up a very small portion of new FMs coming directly from military. So we've talked, if you've been in facility management for a long time, the topic of veterans as a source of talent has always been kind of a key focus. But the reality is, it's been a fairly small portion that are coming directly into FM from the military. Now, there are veterans that are coming from other areas, right? But coming from military directly, it's been a very small recruitment source for FM, and it hasn't really grown. And just as comparison, like colleges, for example, that's almost doubled as far as the number of new talent coming in from higher education versus the past. So that's that's a little bit of a concern that the industry is not leveraging that talent pool as much as they probably can or should. This is showing that on average, there's not a big difference between how quickly veterans or non-veterans are promoted within their facility management positions. Demographics, specifically women, while women make up about 25% of the overall FM workforce in the United States, only 4% of veterans in FM are women. So there's a big gender gap between the percentage of women who are veterans. That is maybe not surprising, considering women have historically been a smaller portion of those who have served in the military. Nevertheless, that percentage is growing. So it'd be interesting to see over time if that gap starts closing a little bit more. Not surprising, government is one of the largest employers of veterans in FM, followed by banking, healthcare, and education. And by the way, if you haven't, I'm kind of going this pretty quick because there's a lot of slides and there's only about 15 minutes. So if you have a specific question, feel free to unmute yourself or put a message in the chat feature, and we'll stop, or we can answer it at the end. The majority of both military veterans and non-veterans consider facility operations as their primary job function. So we all know that the facility management wears a number of hats. You'll see the list there of primary job functions are kind of the key areas: facility operations, real estate, construction, etc. And both non-veterans and veterans consider facility operations as their primary job function. So I see a question here by Eric. Do you have any data on percentage of women in FM as a whole? And the answer is yes. So again, I mentioned 25% of facility managers are women. We actually just produced a Women in FM report that if you go to the IFMA bookstore, you can download that report for free, and it dives in depth to really a lot of the demographics and issues specific to women in facility management. So if you're interested, that you can actually download that report for free at the IFMA bookstore. Thanks for the question, Eric. Hopefully I answered your question. If not, feel free to clarify. Okay, so let me get back on my screen here. Job search timeframes. Interesting, veterans are able to find entry-level employment about twice as fast as a non-veteran, which is maybe not so surprising considering most veterans are coming into the industry with experience in the military, much of it specific to FM or construction or whatever it might be. But once it gets to mid and senior level, there seems to be no difference between a veteran and a non-veteran. But if a veteran is interested in facility management, they're able to find jobs pretty quickly, which is showing you that there's a lot of interest in hiring veterans into the industry. Higher education, similar overall levels across veterans and non-veterans, but specifically veterans are more likely to have graduate degrees than non-veterans. You'll notice that in the graph. Higher levels of graduate education among veterans may be a result of the military actually sponsoring and funding opportunities to pursue graduate degrees while they're in active duty. Degree majors, veterans in FM with college degrees commonly major in business, management, or engineering, and non-veterans are more likely to major in more what I'll call liberal arts type areas, which is again not surprising because in the military, the engineering focus is the priority and is funded. Now we'll talk about pay a little bit. Similar pay between veterans and non-veterans in early entry level and early mid-level, but then there's a little bit of a lag. You'll notice in the screen, the blue line jumps up, which is non-veterans, and veterans stays flat into the later mid-level into senior, and then eventually catches up. Now, the reasons for this could potentially be lower levels of undergraduate education for veterans. So those with bachelor's degrees, there's a higher level that don't have those, and so it really is a little bit of a roadblock when they move into past that kind of entry level type role. The thought is that could potentially be a roadblock for veterans because of that overall lack of undergraduate or bachelor level education. But they share similar responsibilities for people, budgets, etc., in both of their roles. Nevertheless, pay satisfaction is similar at every level between veterans and non-veterans, and they all share similar tenures and employment status. So in conclusion, military veterans have been and continue to be a very small portion of new hires in FM. This was a little bit of kind of a key finding in the research, because the perception was that veterans have been a really important recruitment source, but the reality is there are a lot of veterans, but it's not because of directly coming in from out of military, and it's not growing. It hasn't grown since it has been tracked. The main issue impacting historically low levels of military veterans in FM appears to be, and this was from follow-up interviews to a lot of subject matter experts, is that organizations are generally unaware how to best support and attract potential candidates transitioning out of military. So they don't have that pulse. They don't have a good feel for how do we recruit those coming out of the military into an FM role. And organizations that understand military to civilian transition process are much better positioned to attract military into their FM workforce. So becoming aware of and engaging with well-established entities and programs can really facilitate the development of military veterans as a key recruitment source for future facility professionals. IFMA has a military community that helps members make that transition and close the gap between military and FM jobs. And a really key program that very few people are aware of, but it's called the Skill Bridge program. And this program is actually an opportunity for employers or organizations to hire folks that are transitioning out of the military, but they're still in there, right? I think it's 180 days prior to the end of their service. They can come and almost work as like an intern or a fellowship or whatever you want to call it. And the military actually continues to pay for their salary. So it's a free opportunity for organizations to bring in military personnel that are transitioning out into civilian jobs and provide that experience and expose them to FM and hopefully create opportunities. So this is a really cool program that unfortunately very few people in FM are aware of. There are some that are doing it and with a lot of success. So I'm going to answer a couple questions here now. From David: does the term facility management appear explicitly in military terminology, both in regular functions and in transition counseling as a member leaves the service? I don't know specifically the answer to that, but I will say my experience meeting with folks that are in the military and that are trying to recruit military professionals, there seems to be really a lack of understanding from military folks what facility management is. They're not aware of that as a role. In the military, the word facility management is not commonly used. It's usually facility engineering or construction. And so helping that terminology, I agree, is interesting because most folks aren't aware of the word facility management or what that means. And so that's an opportunity to actually improve that as we try to recruit.
Thank you for joining us for today's session of Ask the FM Doctor. Be sure to mark your calendars now and join our next webinar at 12 p.m. Central Time on the third Tuesday of the month. We look forward to seeing you again.